Great. Sorry, Kim, it is now recording.
No, thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the IDC stakeholder meeting. We only have an hour together and we have a lot to get through on this agenda. So I'm going to ask that those of you who are scheduled to speak or are going to be asked to speak, that you be very aware that there's lots of people that we need to get through and to keep your remarks short, please.
Join the meeting.
And so, again, my name is Kim Cordova. I am the acting chair. Judge Sam Albert, could not join us this afternoon. I am the executive director for the Commission on Criminal Juvenile Justice, a commissioner on the IDC, and will be chairing this meeting this afternoon. And so I am going to keep us moving along because we have a lot to get through. So we're going to keep to the agenda. Okay, and so do we have... let's see, commissioners, do you want to, can we do a roll call for commissioners?
To be clear, you're asking for IDC commissioners, right, Kim?
Yes, I'm sorry. Could we have a roll call for IDC commissioner? And can you do a roll call, please? Or
yes, I don't have it ready, but I will go down the list. Pam, I see you.
I'm here.
You want to just say your name so we have it recorded?
Oh, sorry.
That's
Pamela
okay.
Vickery.
All right. Margaret?
Margaret Lindsay.
Michael Drexel?
Hi, Michael Drexel.
Mr. Zimmerman?
Here.
Mr. Morrow?
Richard Morrow.
Heather?
Heather Schriever.
Oh, it's hard to go through. There's so many of you, which I very much appreciate. I think those are all the commissioners. Oh, Mary's jumping on.
Wally Bugden is here.
Thank you, Wally.
Justice Zimmerman is also here.
And then you can, and I think that's
That's it, right?
Yes.
Yep, I think that's it. I think we have everybody. Okay. And then we have lots of guests here from all over. I don't know if we want, okay, I think everybody needs to, I'm going to just go, I'm going to call you out from my screen, and if you'll just say hello and tell us where you're from. So I have Lisa Richens. Sorry if I say your name wrong.
No, that's perfect. Price City.
I have Lance Dean.
Uintah County.
Chelsea Jessen.
Shalise Jessen, Duchene County.
Benjamin Young.
Utah County Public Defender.
Corey Caldwell.
Tooele County Public Defender.
P. Finlinson.
Millard County.
What's your first name? Is it? I'm sorry.
Pat.
Pat. Thank you. Welcome. Douglas Terry.
Washington County Lead Public Defender.
Bernie Allen.
Fox Hill Public Defender.
Robert Oliver.
Join the meeting.
Carbon County.
Shannon Demler.
Cache County Public Defender's Office.
Lisa Locken.
Salt Lake County Parental Defense.
Joanna Williams.
It's Johanna, and I'm from Sevier County and Wayne County.
Thank you. And then I have a box that has Washington County.
Yeah, this is Nicole Felshaw, County Administrator for Washington County.
Thank you. Lisa Buchanan.
Administrative Assistant for Wayne County and Sevier Counties.
Shane Manuel. Okay. April Jones.
Fox Elder County.
Shane, you're on mute. We'll come back to you. Lindsay Watkins.
Weber County.
Stephen Frazier.
Juab County Public Defender.
Brian Barron.
Weber County.
Kelsey Connell.
I am with the Utah County Public Defender's Office.
Benjamin Young.
Utah County Public Defender.
Shane Manuel, you're off the phone now.
Iron County Public Defender.
Thank you. And then who is 628-9500?
Mike Bowis, Weaver County Public Defender.
Thank you. And then 514-4444. Okay, they're not responding. I don't know who that is, Joanna. Sorry. Okay, all right, wonderful. Thank you all. And so
sorry, Kim.
Sorry.
Sorry, Kim. This is Sean Milne, 4444.
Hi, sorry. Thank you. Oh, we have another commissioner. Wonderful. Thank you so much. Okay, and so now we're going to ask that each of your representatives from these various cities and counties give us just a 2 to 3 minute statement on your critical needs and what you're wanting the commissioners from the Indigent Defense Commission to hear from you all. First up, we have Sevier and Wayne.
Hey, Kim.
Yes.
Can I give a little background on just why we're here?
I'm so sorry. I skipped you. Yes, please.
That's okay. I just want to make sure everyone understands. So we did really well in the legislative session, and then COVID hit. We had about 2.5 million. Greg, will you keep letting people in? I see people joining. We had about 2.5 million additional added to our budget in the legislative session, and COVID hit. And as many of you know, almost all of the new FY21 funding was taken back because of COVID from all agencies across the board. Raises were cut for all state employees, everything was curtailed. In the 6th special session, Senator Weiler did a very miraculous bit of legislative advocacy and was able to get us back nearly $500,000 for us to help repopulate the grants. It was earmarked for appellate representation, but because we have funded the appellate office for 3rd through 6th class counties in a limited way, and that's what cut into all of your grants, we're using this funding to repopulate your grants. So what we really want to hear from you is how that funding can best be used. And I think if we can all think about the most general needs for that funding, so that we're not getting into the particulars of each grant, although I know there will be some variation, but generally think about our grant categories and how best that we can use this funding to help you. So I will be quiet and I will take lots of notes, and on the screen, we have an order for you to go in. It's not, read nothing into it other than I tried to go geographically and accommodate some people's schedules. So let's let Johanna start.
I just wanted to say on behalf of our commissioners, the most critical need for both Sevier and Wayne County is the appellate funding. That's the biggest thing that we need in this area. And it's my understanding that we still have that going forward, like you said, in a limited way. And so aside from that, we only ask for funding in 3 different areas: contracted providers, defense resources, and travel. Our commissioners have given us some money to help with travel. Our defense resources haven't been used like they have. And so we would ask that any money that the Indigent Defense Commission gives us be towards our contracted service providers. Even though we're doing everything remotely, my providers are telling me that it's taking longer to resolve cases because our public defenders don't have the access to technology. And so we're not seeing them regularly in court. And it's harder to keep track of them and to maintain contact and investigate and resolve cases. And so we would just ask that any funds that we get go back towards our contracted providers in that area, whatever percentage is able to be given to us. One other thing is, when the funding was cut, we also are getting up and running on Defender data. And so that's adding to my contracted service providers the amount of time they're spending on cases. I think once we get that running and they know what they're doing, it won't take as much time, and we know it's going to be a benefit in the long run. But I just think that the most critical need right now is getting some of our contracted providers their money back.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Okay, and thank you for being so brief and to the point. Next up, we have Price City.
I'm going to log off so I can get ready for my court hearing. Thank you so much for listening to me.
Thank you.
Back in court, I'm going to also remove, I'm going to take this down so we can see everyone's faces for now, but Kim has the list, so keep
Thank
going
you.
with the list, Kim.
Thank you. Price City. Is there anybody here from Price City?
Yes. Thank you. First, I wanted to just say thank you to the IDC for the funding that we have been granted so far. It's very much appreciated. Our grant is fairly simple. We just have one line item for conflict counsel. So we were awarded 50% of that contract. So any additional funding that could be applied to that would be very helpful. Originally, we had asked for our entire contract amount of $13,200. We were hit last year unexpectedly with a lot of need for conflict counsel, and that will continue going forward. And those were unbudgeted items that we hadn't planned for. So anything additional funding that we could have, that's where we request that to go.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Lisa. Okay, next up we have Washington.
Nope, it's carbon.
Oh, I'm sorry. I've skipped carbon. Sorry.
So I think speaking on behalf of carbon and the defenders in carbon, historically we haven't used the resources, I think, all the resources that were allotted to us. However, with COVID and the amount of jury trials, I think, that are stacking up, I think defense resources will be necessary to help us hire investigators and prepare for these jury trials. We would ask that any money that's allotted back to Carbon County be provided under our defense resources line item, which was cut.
Thank you, Robert. Appreciate that. Okay, now up is Washington.
Thank you. I want to thank the commission, not on behalf of the defenders, but on behalf of the indigent defendants, which is really what this is all about. The indigent defendants of Washington County. I thought that all of the commissioners had access to and had the benefit of seeing the grant applications, and I had simply planned on stating that I could not state any better than was put in our grant application, the reasons for the asks that we made with respect to funding, but I've been told that all of the commissioners may not have that information. So I will just simply and as briefly as I can state that our critical needs in Washington County would be to continue the specialty court contract, which includes recovery or drug court, mental health court, involuntary commitment hearings, and covering conflicts from the other public defenders. That has been a huge benefit to the defendants that participate in that court, in those courts, and we have appreciated that very much. Also a renewal, and everything I'm talking about right now is not new money or increases, but a continuation of the renewal of the level of compensation to our current contractors. That was part of our original grant and was very much appreciated and very much needed in Washington County. In our application, our current application, we also asked for defense resources, and there was a little bit of confusion is that we had not used our defense resources, which up until the first of this year, as far as last year, was true. However, the first of this year, our defense resources that have been earmarked or budgeted by the county have been used almost entirely. In fact, have been used entirely the first half of the year, anticipating that our grant would include what we had received before in the first grant and the previous grant. And that's a critical need, but I will candidly say that might not be as critical as these other things that we are asking for. The main thing that we're asking for and that we asked for in our grant application was funding for 2 new contracts to handle special victim cases, to try and be on some parity and mirror what the prosecutors are, what they have in the Washington County Attorney's Office in terms of 2 prosecutors handling special victims cases. And those of you that are attorneys know how much of a benefit that can be to those defendants in those types of cases, having attorneys who have some level of expertise as far as experience and as far as specialized CLE that they participate in. And frankly, the time to focus on a fewer number of cases that are much more time and resource intensive and much more at stake in those types of cases. And so we asked in our grant application for funds for 2 new contracts to cover those types of cases. And looking at the numbers, I mean, we have 4 non-capital murder cases right now in our county that are just being handled by the public defender that happens to be assigned to the judge that's assigned to that case. And that's just.
Sorry, I'm gonna have to cut you off because you're going over your allotted time. So
can I have 30 seconds to wrap up?
Yep, please.
And we would ask the commission to. We were late to the party in terms of Washington County applying for these funds. We would ask that and strongly urge the commission to help us come up to a parity with these counties and systems that were getting funds from the beginning, to give us the funding that we need so that we can come up to the same level as those counties that have been receiving them from the very first. So we appreciate your consideration.
Thank you, Doug. Okay, next up we have Iron.
Thanks. And for Iron County, our ask was for contract service providers as well as administrative help. If we get any additional funding, it would really, what we'd utilize it for is administrative help. Down here, the courts have put a lot of the issues that come with WebEx and a lot of the scheduling and getting our clients there, and a lot of administrative issues associated with WebEx have fallen on the shoulders of the public defenders. And if there was any additional funding that we could get just to help our administrative staff be able to stay a little longer or help us get those notices out, anything in that arena would be probably our critical need right now under the current way the court is operating. We also have been trying to implement defender data. That's been one of the things we've been trying to do, and just given the other things that our administrative assistants and staff have had to do, defender data has just kind of not been the priority as it has in getting our clients present and avoiding warrants, but that would be our need.
Thank you, Shane. All right, next up we have Millard.
This is Pat Finlinson. I think Tate Bennett is also on. He's one of our public defenders. I think he's struggling to connect audio. But our needs are simple. We contract with the Utah County Public Defender's Office, who then contract with Mr. Bennett and with another public defender in our district and justice courts, and then a couple more in our juvenile court. What we lost, I think, was just some travel expenses and some resources, and that's what we would like back. If we could get that, that would be tremendously helpful. And I think those needs are more or less the same for everyone else that contracts with Utah County.
Great, thank you so much, Pat. Okay, next up we have Joab.
Yeah, I spoke with one of the other, this is Stephen Fraser, I spoke with one of the other public defenders down there in Joab County, and Mr. Bennett is the third. What we would like back is just if there were was there any original funding to the defense attorneys that was cut, which to my knowledge there wasn't. We'd like that back to the existing contracts, or if 2021 is going to be lower than 2020, we'd like that back. But the biggest thing probably I know was cut was the resources for PIs, investigators or expert witnesses. That has been pretty important down there. I've used the investigators quite a bit. I haven't needed any I have needed some experts, but on the kind of the low level, not the real expensive level, like less than $1,000 probably. We weren't as concerned with the mileage. I know Mr. Bennett lives in Joab County. I live in Utah County, and Greg Stewart lives in Utah County, so it's only about a 30-minute drive. So that's not as much of a concern, but definitely those other resources to be able to handle the cases adequately.
Great. Thank you so much, Stephen. All right, next up is Nephi.
Nephi is JUAB.
Sorry.
No, I think Lisa and Perry are both on for Nephi. Stephen, I know you could also talk about Nephi.
Well, the Nephi City, I guess, is what you're referring to, the Justice Court.
Yeah.
I haven't needed, I did need an investigator just to do a couple of interviews, but it was pretty minor in funding, and that's pretty unusual for Justice Court cases, although I do use them occasionally. So it's the same request for the Justice Court that it would be for the District Court in JUAB.
Wonderful, thank you. Okay, San Pete.
So no one registered from San Pete. Kelsey, I thought maybe you were intending to talk for San Pete.
Yeah, I can. I was hoping Richard or Dana would get on here and explain their needs. But for San Pete, I would say their most critical need would be to restore the contractors' amounts. So I do administer the JUAB, Millard, San Pete, and those guys down there definitely are one of the hardest working. They have one of the highest caseloads. And, you know, Richard does have to travel down there from Salt Lake, but I don't think that's the biggest priority for them. I think it would just see that their contracts are restored. Because we were really lucky when we got them on contract because they are already specialized. You know, if they get, you know, some first-degree felony cases there, we have the attorneys to cover it. So.
Great, thank you so much for jumping in, Kelsey, appreciate that.
And that's true on the juvenile side as well in San Pete. I've spoken to the providers down there.
So restoring the juvenile contract amounts. Great, right. Thank you, Margaret. Duchene.
We just wanted to thank the commission for giving us this opportunity to hopefully give us some more funding. Duchene is requesting additional funding for the hourly conflict counsel category and or the defense resources. As the IDC, I think, is aware, we have 6 pending murder cases going on right now. So where the attorneys were ordered to remain on the cases by the judge after the capital murder charges were amended, we're just seeking for some additional help with those.
Great, thank you so much. Uinta.
Hi, we have a pretty complex grant and we're presenting 2 options here. The first option is what I would call Operation Core Principle 8D. For those of you who haven't memorized each core principle, shame on you. Principle 8D requires systems to adopt appropriate rates of compensation. Before the pandemic, Uinta County's 4 district court defense attorneys were compensated at a rate of $7,500 per month in fiscal year 20. We were luckier than the other counties because our IDC score resulted in a 10% reduction rate for contracts. However, our per case rate is now $334 per case, which I think is low. So Operation Core Principle 8D would restore the district court attorneys' contracts back to the pre-pandemic rate. This would require a contribution of $9,000. The second option I would call Operation Bottoms Up. Other counties whose systems need additional resources over and above what Uinta County needs, and each system is part of our state system, and the resources really need to be spent where they're most needed. I agree with Shalise Jessen that Duchene County is one of the 3 counties in our region that currently they're dealing with this homicide case that has multiple co-defendants. All but one of the co-defendants has conflict counsel, and these cases are anticipated to all go to trial. This has resulted in a huge increase of county spending and probably weekend drinking. Any increased IDC funds, I believe, would greatly benefit Duchene County. So with Operation Bottoms Up, I would sit back, pour my favorite iced tea with hope that Duchene County and other needful counties would receive additional funding and let the battle continue. Go fight, win.
Thanks, Lance. Appreciate that. All right, Utah County, let's start with adult criminal defense first and then go to parental. Utah County adult criminal.
I think I'm speaking for everything, Kim.
Makes it easy. Thank you, Margaret.
Well, there is a lot going on, as far as, administration for the different counties, as far as a capital case, and as far as now doubling drug court and multiple homicides as well. I think our biggest request would be to try and restore as much funding to our juvenile contract and conflict positions, across the board, both, juvenile and adult.
Okay.
We recognize the situation in the state. We recognize, the needs that everyone has, and we are certainly cognizant of that and cognizant of the help that we receive and the partnership that we value highly with the IDC.
Thank you, Margaret. Appreciate that. Okay, Salt Lake, I think these are separate. So we'll start with adult and then go to parental defense. Is that Rich?
Yeah, that would be me. So I think, number one, I think that there was some funding cut that was made with the 2 lawyers that we would have for, or actually the 4 lawyers that we have, 2 that do Operation Rio Grande work, which is homeless-based funding. The second is first appearance, counsel at first appearance. We had submitted an initial comprehensive grant that identified the need for 2 additional lawyers, and to make the counsel at first appearance more robust, that would include 2 additional lawyers. Obviously, if that money's on the table, I think that we could utilize that in a very good way, because I think we could really staff every single court and gather reasonably good data demonstrating the need and really the benefit of having.
Hi, Kristen. It's Mary
opinion.
Corporon. I'm at 801-560-9622. 801-560-9622.
Hi, Mary. Can you mute yourself, please?
Oh, sorry. I thought I was muted.
That doesn't count against Richard's time. I vote.
Oh, yes, it does.
Thanks, Doug. The other position that we had, and it was a position that would be shared by Pam and I, and she can obviously talk about it more too, would be a data gathering person to help us. I mean, we have a very big public defender agency. She does too. The data that we gather and the information that we have is helpful, and I think could be universally helpful to everybody that gets IDC funding, because we could gather quite a bit more data and be able to make it more useful.
Great, thanks, Rich. Lisa, right?
That's correct. Thanks. We just want to preserve our funding for our social worker. That's been an amazing benefit to us. We can always use more social workers. The only other thing we can think of, well, 2 other things, is just having access when we need to retain an additional social worker for unique circumstances or for testimony. And then we obviously support the development of child welfare or appellate office, given the number of cases that we have and being different between trial attorneys and appellate attorneys, but mostly preserving or keeping the funding for our social worker.
Great, thank you, Lisa. Okay, Tooele.
Thank you. I'm Corey Caldwell. I'm the managing defender in Tooele. We had a 20% reduction in our contracts, and that's what we would be looking to restore first. I know I'm echoing what's already been said, but it's tough to cut funding for the attorneys and also increase time commitments, not only due to the pandemic, but due to data reporting. And I worry about losing good attorneys because the tracking and the new responsibilities are a lot. I know personally for me, my time commitment has more than doubled. And so it's tough to swallow that with a 20% reduction. I'm sure Tooele's not alone in that. And so I don't think I'm asking for something that everybody else doesn't also deserve and need. But it's really tough to keep everybody fighting hard for their clients and keep a good system in place when we have reductions and increased time commitments. I know it's a lot to ask, but if there's any funding to fund our admin position that we asked for, it's tough to have attorneys doing all of their own administrative stuff with the additional workload. I know some counties don't have public defense offices. We're one of those counties. And so we don't have centralized services. And so when administrative and data tracking is increased, it all falls on the attorneys. And it is a lot to ask. I think we need good data. I don't think that we're always getting it because if attorney is choosing between tracking time and tracking cases and tracking data versus the merits of their case, the merits of the case are always going to win. And so I think we need that administrative help so that we do have good data. So first we'd be looking to restore the funding to our contracts, and then second, to get started with an administrative position to support those attorneys. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Corey. Okay, Weber.
Sorry. Yes, two areas we're focusing on right now in Weber County. The first is the administrative assistant. We did get funding from the IDC for the last few months of the fiscal year, and hired an individual who's done a really great job. We underestimated what the appropriate pay would be. Brian Barron, who's here, part of this meeting, conducted a survey on behalf of the county when they were looking at hiring some staff positions there, and looked throughout the state. The administrative assistant positions averaged about $5 an hour more than what we hired this person at. And then the 5 or 6 months she's been here, she's done a great job. I'm well versed in defender data and helped us or took control of our quarterly reports and a number of other things. So that's been really vital to us, and we think going to get us into a better position where we're able to provide higher quality service to our clients. The other areas is specialty contracts. Those are two attorneys who are retained to handle complicated homicide and first-degree felony sex cases. We had originally asked for, I think it was $140,000. That was cut. We were given 45% of that. We would like to get as much of that as we could. They're handling about 11 of those cases now. There's a bunch more we could give them if we had the funds to do so. That's important because it reduces the stress and the workload on the attorneys to handle their other cases. And as we all know, public defenders or the clients often complain that their attorney is too busy handling other cases to spend time on there. So that's been a big help, a lot of relief, and I think, again, providing higher quality service to our clients, and we like to continue making improvement there.
Great, thank you so much. Okay, Box Elder.
Good afternoon. I too am grateful to the commission for helping. It's a little bit like the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away, unfortunately, and getting these good lawyers lined up to do the work that we have, and we're if anything, understaffed. And then suddenly getting word that we're getting cut on what they're able to be paid, I couldn't allow that to happen, so I simply took it out of mind and have been making up the difference. And that's not really what I had in mind, but it's what I did and what we are doing. We do maintain an office in Box Elder County. We're a block away from the courthouse. I also take care of the secretaries and administrative work in that office that cover the public defender related items and issues. We hope to get an administrative help, and we applied for that in the new grant to help set that up. And it's very important, as other people have mentioned. Defender data is a bit of a struggle getting all set up on. Keeping good records so that we can present the quarterly reports in a timely manner is a big deal. It takes a lot of time.
Great, thank you so much. And then our last
Spam caller.
Oh, sorry.
I wasn't sure. I'm sorry. I got cut off by my.
I knew you did. Go ahead. Sorry, you got cut off. Go ahead.
So that, and then the defender support stuff. We had been working to get our attorneys involved using that more and more, and then it suddenly was yanked. And so it would be helpful to get that back. We need to get the amount back for the attorneys. They're very low paid already. I mean, they're doing amazing work for what they're getting paid, but it can't maintain that way. I was hoping to be able to give them a raise last year, but that obviously couldn't happen. So those are the issues. We need to get at least back what we had, and would ask that the administrative assistant be available. We could only dream to have a social worker helping us in the justice court and in the serious criminal cases, but that's another issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Bernie. Thank you for that. Okay, Cash.
Yes, we've been extremely lucky that we've been able to keep all the contract attorneys that we had working, and they're doing an excellent job. Like Bernie said, the time constraints have got more and more. The commitments have got worse, things such as that, but they're doing a good job on that. The request we would have, I guess, is much like anybody, if we could have more funding for assistance for them to help with the scheduling, giving notice to the clients, et cetera, during these pandemic times. It seems like that's kind of got out of control compared to what we expected it to. We spend a lot of our time notifying clients of court, sending them WebEx, all those things. And I would rather have an assistant do that if we had the funding than the attorneys have to do that themselves. So we would be looking at probably assistance for the attorneys and possibly a paralegal if the funding was available. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shannon. Okay, we got through everybody. That is really amazing. And so now I would like to ask the IDC commissioners. I'm hopeful that you took notes on all of this. And if any of our RDC commissioners have any questions or want any type of further explanation or thoughts from any of our counties and cities that have spoken just now.
Rich, this is Wally. I'm wondering if you can explain a little bit more about your request for some additional attorneys for initial appearances. Aren't those already covered, the initial appearance court?
Yeah, we cover the initial appearance courts with 2 attorneys right now. That's an insufficient number of attorneys to cover. There's a jail district court calendar, a jail justice court calendar, an in-person district court calendar, an in-person Salt Lake City Justice Court calendar, and an in-person and jail Salt Lake County Justice Court calendar. Because of the close proximity of time between those calendars, we don't typically have enough time to meet with clients and talk to them in advance of any of the hearings. And so our plan for the expanded court calendar would be to get the calendars in advance, to actually more robustly send people to the jail in advance of those calendars, to talk to people in the jail, to have specific lawyers assigned to both the to all 3 justice courts so that they can be there in person for all of the in-person hearings in a timely manner. Right now, we're missing sections of the in-person calendars in the district and the justice court. And have looked at this fairly robustly and have determined that 2 additional lawyers would be necessary for us to really fully do the job the way we think it needs to be done.
Thank you, Wally. Thank you, Rich. Any other commissioners, IDC commissioners, have any questions for our grantees?
Kim, I had something. This is Mike Drexel. If to everyone who presented that spoke to defense resources, this was a category that the commission as a group had not really funded across the entire breadth of applications for grant funding initially. And if the commission were still going to be looking at not awarding anything as it related to defense resources, for those of you who made that a priority in your requests, is there something else that you would want to see funded if in fact that category is just going to be something that's not viable or a tenable proposition for the commission?
From Box Elder County, this is Bernie Allen. The administrative assistance and help can be helpful to us in that. I have a social a gal who graduated in psychology and social work, and she is my administrative assistant / secretary, one of them. And she is capable of doing some of those kinds of things as part of her administrative action if she could be funded. So that's the administrative help we were asking for. It's too bad that we don't have, I mean, defense resources come in buckets. You need it and then you don't. It would be nice if there was a resource bank or a list of people who are available to help, even on a piecemeal basis, that the commission might have some, I don't know if they could keep a bank of those kind of people available, and then we could apply as needed for those kinds of things if they came up, if there was a way of making that work. So it's not just blanket funding. I don't know. That's something that would be interesting to look at. And then the social worker idea is something that would be very helpful in cases. Of course, our little counties have really no hope of getting that involved, but I've been hoping to use my administrative assistant a little bit in that regard because she's trained in that. But things that I would suggest.
Pam,
Bernie, anyone else?
Yeah, this is Stephen Fraser. I was going to say the same thing. If the resources aren't going to be funded or unable to be funded, then a pot with some money to be used as needed. Like I think Mr. Allen just said, sometimes you need a lot of investigators, the ones I seem to always need, and sometimes you don't need them for a while. But if there was some place to allocate the funds for things that are needed, even if it wasn't specifically funded, that would be very helpful.
I appreciate that response. Kim, I don't know if there's anyone else that wanted to chime in on that one, but that was the question I had. I had one other question for you, Winta. Did I hear on, what was it, Operation Bottoms Up, that there was a request that to the extent there was funding, that it be used to assist Duchene County with their current situation with the 5 homicide trials?
Yes.
Okay. I understood that.
That was our hope, or some other county, but Duchene's in our region, so we like it more.
Understood. Thank you for that clarification.
I like the weekend drink allocation too. That was good.
Thanks, Mike. Any other commissioners?
Yeah, I have a question. Is the idea of having, say, administrative assistant or somebody else, sort of a roster of those that might be called on by counties, is that feasible? I mean, what do other counties think about that? I mean, are there some spot needs that somehow could be fulfilled without putting somebody permanently on the books in a particular county? That's an idea I haven't heard before.
You know, Justice, I used to work with Weber County, and we had a really bad idea plan of being able to go to the county and requesting funding, specific funding for specific investigation or for specific witnesses. But of course, you had to go to the county attorney, civil side of the criminal side of they claimed they had the Chinese wall and all that nonsense, but it was very, very difficult to make that work. And if there was not a clearinghouse, but if there was a resource statewide that you could go to make application for that kind of assistance and have people who would sign up as part of that pool and be available as needed, and then could bill directly to the state. So we weren't having to use our limited resources to do that. That would be spectacular. And I'm sure it's a lot of work and probably not feasible, but if it was a perfect world, that would be, particularly for us counties that don't have the resources to develop a whole system of our own on that. I think that would be really, really terrific.
Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else have a thought about that?
Yeah, I would like to, Lance Dean from Uinta County. not be a bad idea to have some kind of a centralized admin that could assist in some of these things, putting things together. We've tried to pretend that we are that, at least for our little county, and put together certain ledgers and things that we can. And we're certainly willing to share everything that we've created and to, you know, gather things from other people to help as well. But I think that people who have the admin things, I feel really bad for them because I think we're ahead of the game than most counties or most regions. But that's maybe not a bad idea. We've offered to help anybody who wants to reach out to us to assist with some of the things that we've done administratively.
And I'll just chime in that Lance and Jenny, his assistant, have done a lot with Defender data, so they're a really good resource there. So if you are interested—
I think you froze.
You froze up.
Can you hear me?
No, now
Yeah.
Just stay on afterwards and we can talk to Lance about that. But having investigators on state contract is an idea we definitely could pursue. So those ideas are really helpful.
Great, thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay, any other questions from commissioners? Okay, any question? All right, so you guys are like so efficient and so amazing. Thank you so much. I guess on behalf of the commissioners, I just want to say, you know, how grateful we are to all of you in your participation and your patience with this. We are so incredibly grateful for your continued collaboration on this, and that I just want you all to know how difficult it's been this year. I think that we were so amazingly excited because we had a successful session in so many different ways. And then I mean, literally, right, D-Day, I've been heard, you know, it was March 13th, the last day of the session when we all had to, you know, go into the world stopped. And it has been amazingly difficult for the IDC staff, the office, and also for the commissioners to have to implement these cuts. And really the fact that Senator Weiler during this last EAC committee meetings that he got us back some funding is just so amazing. And we're so really just so grateful to him that he was able to do this. And we appreciate so much your participation. This is so incredibly helpful to us. It's very valuable, good information about what your priorities are. I just want to assure you all that we want to make sure that we are incredibly fair across the board. I think it's when you look across like this Brady Bunch and you scroll through that we are hitting all parts of our state, which is absolutely one of the goals. And we're proud, right, of that we have so much participation and collaboration from Cache to Washington to and all over in between. And so so we're really grateful. We're really grateful for that collaboration and that partnership. I
think with the time left, Kim, we ought to have Lance recite from memory the core principles. You know.
No, thank you. I've got them right.
Are we ready?
We're ready.
Got them right here.
Memory, from memory.
As far as you know.
Okay, does anybody have any final thoughts any final thoughts or feedback or anything else for closing thoughts as we end our time here together?
Just thank you, Kim, for your help, and we look forward to working with you.
Okay. And anybody who wants to stay on about centralized defense resources, please stay on. Otherwise, we will be in touch with you all. And reach out if you have any questions or concerns. Thank you.
Thank you.